When you start Darq, you immediately find yourself in the bathroom. You're not sure if this is your house or somebody else's. The game doesn't dabble with any introductions, dialogue, nor context of what it is all about. Hello everyone, my name is Wisa, and in this review we will be looking at what makes Darq stand out in terms of the story, gameplay, and design. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for similar content. Let's jump into it and start off with the story. Darq is a horror puzzle-based game where you play as Lloyd, a boy who realizes that he's stuck in a series of nightmares. He futilely attempts to escape by walking on walls, joining adjacent live wires, and activating levers, to name a few. Along the way, you also encounter other beings, all of whom are out to get you. It's interesting to note that, similar to Little Nightmares, the story isn't told to you directly, and you get to decide what the enemy's motivations mean in relation to your character. Darq's premise relies on deciphering the metaphors in his adventures. One example includes Lloyd's outer body experience every time he attempts to go back to sleep or to wake up. Another metaphor could lie in the kinds of monsters he faces off against, be it a wheelchair-bound grandmother or the odd tuba-headed foe that keeps bellowing sinister tones as it stalks its prey. It could also be that one of the game's key themes is that a simple change of perspective can be the fundamental idea in solving any great problem. There's not much to say about the story, as you and the beings you encounter don't have any lines of dialogue. What you're confronted with is a puzzle-based adventure comprised of 7 chapters all in an attempt to finally wake up from the nightmares that plague your mind. Now let's talk about the gameplay. Darq's mechanics are not taught via a tutorial, and instead, you are immediately thrust into the game. You have to go to Settings, and then Controller to view the actions corresponding to specific buttons. While playing with a keyboard is completely fine, the default key bindings are a bit awkward to handle. Because of this, we opted to use an Xbox controller instead. Thankfully, all of the controls are rebindable. What we find fascinating about the gameplay is how new and creative puzzle mechanics are introduced in each chapter. At the beginning, you notice Lloyd's eyes inspect a wall's crevice, prompting you to hit A to see what happens next. With such fluidity and movement, you learn how to seamlessly walk on walls, as if your character has known how to do this even before these dreams started. For the most part, you have to figure out what walls you can climb and what you can't. Another example of a cool mechanic is Lloyd's ability to pull a lever, only for him to either move around into the background or foreground of the current scene. The reason why this is important is that Lloyd can only move in a linear direction. Having the ability to change perspectives is a neat trick in exploring other parts of a location. These two actions push your sense of perception as you progress in the game. What is the right angle by which we ought to travel? What is the correct way to rotate the key in order to match a certain image? If I do this, will it result in my desired action? What Darq does eloquently is how it makes sense of each puzzle. So much so that these do not meander between simple and complex types when it doesn't need to. Instead, Unfold Games treats Lloyd's struggle with thought and care, and it shows. Playing through the game has been a fun and enjoyable experience because all of the mechanics you learn since the beginning is firmly integrated into each chapter. There was no moment where we had to think back to a previous chapter to reevaluate what we should be doing to solve our current predicament. The gameplay makes sense. However, upon getting used to these mechanics, puzzles down the line tend to be less challenging despite how creative they appear. This is not a drawback, but more of an afterthought on what can be expected from the game. In addition, we do like to point out that a certain chapter deviates greatly from this intuitive pattern. Said chapter did not present the struggles that it had, hence, it felt significantly different from the vibe that the previous chapters gave off. Instead of a calm or slower set of puzzles, we were confronted with problems where faster-paced thinking was involved. We won't discuss it further to avoid spoilers. We do wish that the game is longer because of how alive, enjoyable, and terrifying the world is. Currently, it can be finished in 2 to 3 hours if you rush through the nightmares, or if you stop and appreciate the environmental design. Despite these encounters, one of Darq's shining strengths is definitely its perception-driven, intuitive, and creative gameplay. Last but not the least is the design in terms of graphics and sound. Darq's graphics is wonderful. It's not the simple Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas meets Corpse Bride, who then meets Little Nightmares and befriends Limbo. Despite possibly borrowing art inspiration from these titles, the game has its own dark style. Predominant shots mirror that of old and noisy filters to show how haunting and bleak it is to cycle through a multitude of nightmares. It is an impressive feat that Darq is able to paint such a vivid world by using only 3 major hues: black, white, and purple. What's also interesting is Lloyd's dark eyes, straight and gaunt face, and frail physique, which we guess is a byproduct of having been stuck in this horrific dreamlike state for some time now. This, of course, is subject to interpretation and has not been confirmed by Unfold Games as of the making of this video. Moreover, the other beings complement the excellent environmental design of the game. All of them are definitely memorable because of how minimal their number is and how unusual they look. No one would think about combining a tuba and a man and putting it in a horror setting. 2 of our favorites are the wheelchair grandma and the hand-over-face man. Look at just how aggressive they are! Having played the game at 11 p.m., we're glad we still haven't gotten nightmares, although that may be a possibility in the future. Next is the sound design, which is loud and soft during moments when it has to be. While the game does not have too many different sound effects, it does use what it has to terrifying effect. Each tone sets out an otherworldly feeling that has no problem shaking one's bone. It even goes as far as drilling fear into memory. Who can forget the deep thumps that blare into existence whenever Lloyd tries to fall asleep, only to have his spirit leave his body? Or the tonal moment when Lloyd discovers his ability of walking on walls. These sounds are weird, loud, and unnatural, and are definitely things that will be remembered. the poignant yells, groans, and moans of the enemies are also moments that are to be truly feared. Music is also unused in the game, but its absence creates a sense of surreal loneliness and the feeling that it is indeed only you and your footsteps against all of these nightmares. Overall, Darq is a well-crafted and curiosity-inducing game, which succeeds in presenting intuitive and creative gameplay, together with its memorable graphic and sound designs. The game presents itself in a manner that makes sense because of how good its elements blend together. There's just one chapter that deviates from this, which isn't bad but is quite jarring. Additionally, we wish that the game's length is longer to further explore the nightmare realm and to possibly learn about who Lloyd is. Even after finishing the game, we're still wondering about his backstory and life moving forward. Hear us out. If you're a fan of dark horror games with puzzles that make you think, we recommend buying Darq at a discount of at least 15% off. The only reason for this is the game's short length. However, it's worth noting that Unfold Games already issued a statement about releasing DLCs within the year. When said DLCs are available, then we recommend buying the game at full price. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, sharing and subscribing to the channel helps us a lot. Thank you for watching and have a great week ahead.